You come to a bill that's going to rip health care away from tens of millions of people. How can you do this?
A high-stakes vote over health care brings passions to a boil in the U.S. House.
If we want to talk about misleading the American people, it started 7 years ago and it ends today.
The vote is done. Republicans won. But what happens next is still unclear, including the impact here in Texas. Good morning and thank you for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. President Donald Trump and House Republicans celebrated the vote to repeal and replace Obamacare. House GOP leaders surprised a lot of people when they announced Wednesday night that they'd hold a vote on changing major elements of the health care law. The measure passed after a short debate on Thursday. Democrats blasted the new plan, claiming it will result in fewer people being covered and out-of-reach premiums for seniors and those with pre-existing conditions. But Republicans sounded pleased that they'd finally lived up to the promise to replace the Affordable Care Act.
The bill repeals all the taxes, it repeals the mandates, it repeals the one-size-fits-all, but it ensures that everybody can get health insurance regardless of the status of your health.
There is some debate about the last part of what Thornberry said. Critics say the bill allows insurance companies to raise prices for people with pre-existing conditions and does not guarantee that treatments for those conditions are covered. Some opponents say the health care vote happened even though most lawmakers don't know exactly what's in the bill.
It's a real travesty. That's why it's being handled with stealth, having been brought up last night, presented with no one knowing how much it costs, how many jobs are lost, and how many American families lose their health insurance.
All the Democrats in the Texas delegation voted against the bill. All the Texas Republicans voted yes, except one, San Antonio's Will Hurd. The bill now goes to the Senate where major changes are expected. The bill to ban sanctuary cities in Texas now awaits a simple signature from Governor Greg Abbott to become law. The controversial proposal cleared its final hurdle this week in the legislature. Alana Rocha with our coverage partner, the Texas Tribune, has the latest on the bill.
To Governor Greg Abbott, a bill to crack down on sanctuary policies in Texas was a must-pass this session. And this week, Republican lawmakers delivered on the controversial legislation. That story leads off this edition of your Texas Political Roundup. Democrats in the Texas Senate knew there was little they could do to stop a bill Wednesday that would allow local law enforcement to question a person's immigration status during the most routine exchanges, including traffic stops. The author of Senate Bill 4, State Senator Charles Perry, said the measure is about upholding the rule of law. But law enforcement in the state has been largely against it, arguing it will erode the public's trust of authorities. In the age of President Trump, Texas Democrats are coming out of the woodwork to run for Congress in places few party leaders even paid attention to a year ago. A crowd of candidates is targeting two longtime GOP incumbents, U.S. Representatives Pete Sessions of Dallas and John Culberson of Houston. While Republicans scoff at the notion either race would be competitive, Democrats want to have challengers in place in these areas in particular because Hillary Clinton carried them last fall. Think you could pass the civics test immigrants have to take to become U.S. citizens? Well, Texas high school students could soon have to pass a version of it to graduate. This week, the House approved House Bill 1776, which would replace the required U.S. history end-of-course exam with a 10-question multiple-choice test on U.S. history and civics. Those who take the actual naturalization test are required to get 6 correct. This bill would mandate 9th graders score 70% or better. I'm Alana Rocha. You too can test your civics knowledge by visiting us online at texastribune.org. There you'll find our story and a sample 10-question test.
Thanks, Alana. Lawmakers are in the home stretch at the state capitol. We'll look closer at the challenges in the final weeks and the potential political fallout from the health care vote in Washington. Plus, fighting for funding. The state program to bring movie and TV productions to Texas is on the chopping block. Lawmakers are trying to save money, but find out why some people worry Texas could lose more than it saves. As a Republican bill to repeal key parts of Obamacare passed on Thursday, Democrats broke into this song. You might have recognized the tune, the old song, Na Na Hey Hey Goodbye. why a lot of Democrats say the health care repeal vote will cost some Republicans their seats in Congress. And joining us now for perspective, Alana Rocha from the Texas Tribune and Bob Garrett he's the Austin bureau reporter for the Dallas Morning News. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
You want to burst in a song like that?
Tone deaf, not going there.
What do you make of all of this that happened in Congress this past week?
Yeah, I think that, they wanted to get some semblance of a victory, and they were able to do that. Of course, they laid it out and passed it before the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan entity that the figures on the previous bill weren't flattering, and that's why you didn't have the votes as far as the Republicans go. They didn't have a chance to score this bill. And, I think Democrats are lining up. We've seen that here in Texas with certain districts, and they're preparing for 2018 and feel like this is a good bullet to get them going. Yeah,
what was the, Texas take on this as far as our delegation there?
The earlier one that got such bad scoring by CBO that millions and millions of people would lose their health insurance and that premiums initially would go up before going down. That one had some members against it, including Louis Gohmert from East Texas and Randy Weber from the Houston area. They ended up flipping over to yes for this. The one Texas Republican who joined about 19 other House Republicans in voting against it was Will Hurd. Not too big a surprise. He's in the only so far competitive House district in 36 House districts in Texas.
Any congressional seats that might have some kind of fallout for this, depending on how things play out?
Yeah, we've been reporting on, John Culberson out of Houston and Pete Sessions out of Dallas. Several Democrats are already filing for those races and lining up. And you see the party kind of wanting to stay hands-off just because of the sheer number of candidates that could come forward and the anti-Trump momentum that they have.
And specifically in places where Hillary Clinton did well in the election, correct? They
want to make sure they have people lined up regardless of their chances, and redistricting maps and all that has to play into this.
So, do you think that's going to work for Democrats? I mean, is this, a long shot? What do you think?
Well, the National Republican Party is going to raise a lot of money for Pete Sessions in North Dallas and John Culberson, who has the district, we should point out, that has George H.W. Bush 41 in that district. Once a solid Republican district like Sessions, but now they're trending. And it's too early to say what will happen in those things, but I mean, we will have at least 3, maybe some more competitive districts to watch, which is certainly a change. The number 2 Democrat in Washington, Steny Hoyer, said they're coming out of the woodwork because they smell victory in the air, and they think they have in this health care vote the mirror image of the 2009 Affordable Care Act vote that Democrats cast.
What about how this trickles down to the State House? Are we going to see any immediate, shake-up there, or is it going to have to wait to see how things lie for a while?
I think you'll have to wait to see. Haven't heard too much as far as different races cooking. I don't know.
Well, I think the effects will have to play out, and this has huge effects on this Medicaid program.
Right.
And that will take a while before it creates any kind of a backlash. And as you know, most of the Medicaid recipients are poor people who don't vote, but the providers in that system will get hurt potentially from this move, and less money that may motivate them to help support some Democrats.
Well, we just have a few minutes left, but I can't leave the State House without talking about the big news this past week with sanctuary cities. Was this expected?
I think so, given that it was, one of just 4 emergency items from the governor, and that the Senate did accept the House's changes. In fact, the bill's author, Charles Perry, said a lot of the changes were, good, and that he's, sorry he didn't think of them. But, now it's a matter of waiting for the Governor Abbott's signature, which is he's warming up his signing pen, and then the lawsuits that will follow, both on, questioning whether or not the state has the authority to write immigration law, if you will. So it remains to be seen.
How have local leaders been, really reacting to what's happening? It's been such a big talker here in Travis County.
Well, the police chiefs in all the urban counties were against it, and I think that you have, it could be called a sanctuary counties bill because it deals with a lot of county officials. There are fines potentially in here against those jurisdictions and removal of local officials that disobey this law potentially. So they've not been crazy about it. There was only one real surprise here, and that was, we knew some version was probably going to go through this session, but having it be, you know, such a kind of copy of the Arizona law as far as the, you know, show your papers please thing was a surprise when a top lieutenant to Speaker Joe Strauss, Charlie Guerin, took this on. I think we all expected it would be a milder version and go to conference, there would be haggling, but Team Strauss kind of lost control of things with an assist from the Democratic caucus.
Certainly a surprise to Democrats. Just a few seconds left. What's going to be the big issue with the rest of the session now? Is all the fighting done? I mean, we've got like a month left, right?
Yes.
Less than.
The two Bs, budget and bathrooms.
Yes.
Yeah. Budget, the only bill they have to pass, are right now working out in conference. You know, more, I think, not only the spending items or line items on that, but just the funding mechanism and kind of the accounting trickery that they are claiming the other chamber is doing.
Well, thanks for being with us, and I hope you enjoy these last couple of busy weeks, and then you can take a break, right?
Hopefully.
There's no special.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Facebook is hiring thousands of people to help keep violent and illegal videos off the social media network. How the move could help in an effort already underway to protect people in Texas.
In a time where the oil industry isn't doing so hot, it's really nice to have this industry.
First, a program that helps bring jobs to Texas is on the chopping block. We'll look closer at the case for cutting or keeping the state's film incentives. As a conference committee works out the details of a state budget, a program that helps bring jobs to Texas is on the chopping block. The Texas Moving Image Industry Incentive Program offers rebates to businesses to help lure film, television, and video game producers to the state. It helps pay for things like wages for people who work on movies in Texas. The Film Incentive Program's been around since 2007. It's brought in more than $1 billion into the state's economy and more than 140,000 jobs.
In a time where the oil industry isn't doing so hot, it's really nice to have this industry, and you know, I feel like we need to diversify the industries that we invest in and bring to Texas, and film's been proven. It's got a $5.55 return on investment. So I mean, for every dollar spent, that's a pretty good investment.
Last session, lawmakers gave the incentive program $32 million. Governor Abbott wanted to raise the total to $72 million this budget, but the Senate only allocated $3 million, and the House cut all of the funding. Senator Connie Burton from Colleyville near Fort Worth is one of 3 Republican lawmakers to file bills to either cut or eliminate the program. She says it's wrong for the government to subsidize the film industry. In February, Senator Burton told us, quote, "The state has a finite amount of resources, and any diversion from the core functions of state government is a misuse of those resources." Joining us now for perspective is Paul Steckler, a filmmaker and the chair of the Radio Television Film Department at the University of Texas at Austin. Some people who support this ending the film incentive program point out that Texas already had a film program before the incentive program was there. So what's changing?
Well, there's film incentive programs across the United States and in foreign countries right now. So essentially, you know, this is not a free market situation where, you know, everything is neutral. You know, we're surrounded by 3 states that have very, very lucrative film incentive programs: Oklahoma, Louisiana, and New Mexico, where we've lost a lot of our film industry. And a lot of folks have actually moved over to Georgia because their film incentive program is quite good as well. If you go to New Orleans, now because of the Louisiana film incentive program, there's studios, there's sound stages, and again, we're losing a lot of our crew that are Texans who would like to stay here. And you can see, as the film incentive program has been, you know, cut over the years, there's specific numbers, you know, that have, you know, that document what's happened to the film industry here. 4 years ago, the legislature appropriated $95 million for the film incentive program, and that led to $442 million of films being filmed here. 2 years later, they cut that by 2/3, and magically, the amount of film being filmed in Texas went down to $120 million. If we cut the program entirely, I mean, it's pretty easy to see what that's going to lead to. It's going to lead to no outside film industry, or a lot of the folks that make films here making films other places.
What do you say to those people, though, that say that this money could be put to something better that's more pressing in the state right now?
Well, I would say to them that $95 million, let's say if you fund it the way it was 4 years ago, exactly how much of a $215 billion budget does that actually, measure? And this is a demonstrated successful program. The Film Commission, which is in the governor's office, so I don't think that we can not, think they're lobbying or they're making something up, say that during the decade of the Film Incentive Program, the state has spent $168 million, created 20,000 jobs, and generated, $1.14 billion worth of film. So it's, essentially, I know that there are folks in the legislature that say that we should not be choosing winners and losers, but by getting rid of the Film Incentive Program, we are choosing a loser, us.
So as the chair of the RTF program at UT, what are your students saying? How's this going to affect them?
Well, it's, to trickle down sort of deal. I mean, a lot of the other states that have film incentive programs, Louisiana, New Mexico, Georgia, they don't have big film schools. The University of Texas is one of the top 10 film schools in the United States, by far the most affordable. We churn out 1,000 film majors a year, and a lot of those Texans want to stay here. They want to work in Texas. They don't want to go to Los Angeles. They don't want to go to New York. And if there's no film industry here, then they'll leave. So essentially, if you kill the industry, and this is a place that people want to film in. People love filming in Texas. The best example of this is the AMC has a wonderful series right now called The Sun, multi-part series based on Texas writer Philip Mayer's, a classic book about 3 generations of Texans. AMC is putting it out right now. It was filmed here in Texas. The reviews, among other things, talk about how great the locations are. I guarantee you, for their second season, if the Film Incentive Program goes away, it'll be filmed in New Mexico. And we're already losing series. The American Crime left, The Leftovers left. Gosh, Friday Night Lights wouldn't have filmed here without the incentive program. Is this really what we want for a fairly minuscule amount of money, which has had a demonstrated economic impact on the state of Texas?
Seems like no matter what, this is going to be cut this session, though. I mean, is there anything we can do to try to attract films even without this incentive?
No, and the governor knows this. Governor Abbott was, essentially telling people he wanted to increase this to at least $75 million, though I heard actually even more than that. And I'm not sure who's communicating this to the legislature. What can we do right now? We could hope for, the conference committee to come up with something different. That's probably, since the House zeroed out the program, not realistic. But, last session, the comptroller, Comptroller Hager, asked them to add $70 million on, given revenues that would be coming to the state. They cut that to 20, so at least we had $32 million. If the governor paid more attention to this, and I know that he thinks it's important. He's got a film commission that he talks to, and the comptroller made that argument to the legislature. At least at the last minute, we'd be able to save something. If you don't have a film incentive program, you will kill the film industry in Texas. There's no ifs, whats, or buts on this thing.
Who's going to have to be leading the fight for this ahead of the next session if we want to try to get money back?
I'm not sure. You'd have to have, somebody that thinks this is important. And, given whatever happened to the legislature this time, I'm not sure where that would be. I'll put it this way. This is an economic business issue. Okay, we have a fabulous film program at the University of Texas. We have kids that are being trained. They want to stay in this state. They want to grow this industry. 30% of our students are Latino. They want to be able to grow the Spanish-speaking industry and entertainment in this state. Okay, but if the legislature goes out of the way to kill the industry, what does that mean for the future? This is just really depressing. I don't understand what the problem is in this. It's an ideological, reaction, saying that we should not pick winners and losers, we shouldn't be involved in the economy. Well, that's great. Tell that to the other states.
Well, maybe there's something that will still hammer out in these last few weeks of the session. We'll see.
You can always hope.
Yeah. Paul Steckler, thank you very much for being here. Facebook announced it's hiring more people to keep violent videos off its social media site. Founder Mark Zuckerberg says the company will add 3,000 people to help review user content. It comes after high-profile incidents of people sharing videos of suicide and murder. The additional reviewers will also help Facebook improve its response to banned material like hate speech and child exploitation. The Texas Attorney General's office also has teams assigned to track and prosecute people who post banned content online. KXAN political reporter Phil Prazen asked the AG, Ken Paxton, how the Facebook decision could help their efforts.
Having 3,000 Facebook employees monitoring some very bad things and getting them off of Facebook, I'd say can only be good.
Now, you all have a cyber crimes unit here. Tell us a little bit about what you do and where kind of the overlap's going to be.
So, established in 2003, we do some very different things. We focus on child predators. We've been doing sting operations almost every week. We've been arresting child predators. And the point is, we not only want to stop those child predators, we want to send the message that we're out there, we're watching. We don't have 3,000 employees doing this, but we have a lot of law enforcement guys that are looking at this stuff and trying to stop it. So, you know, obviously, the two working together is good.
Paxton says the state's human trafficking unit also monitors social media posts for potential illegal activity. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. Stay tuned for Meet the Press coming up at 9. I'm Josh Hinkle. Have a great day.